Hello, everybody. I am Jacob with Kaiju United. I am here with Dane G. Kroll. He's an author, writes a lot of books, a lot of them about kaiju. You might know him from the Realm of Goryo. Please
Gloria.
correct me on that. Goryo. Okay. The Realm of Goryo series of books. They started publication in 2014, I believe, and the newest one is out right now. Dane, did you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hello, everybody. Obviously, Dane G. Kroll. You did a pretty good job of introducing me right there. Yeah, I write a lot of kaiju fiction, also horror, sci-fi, fantasy, kind of whatever floats the boat at that time. But kaiju has been the main passion for a lot of these years.
Are you like a kaiju fan? I know you've gone to G Fest and tabled there. Like, are you like a hardcore kaiju fan, or just you just enjoy the monsters or something like that?
I am a kaiju fan. I have all the Godzilla movies. It's kind of funny. I consider myself a kaiju fan. Then I went to G Fest and I realized that you guys blow me out of the water despite all of despite my fandom.
Nah, no. If you're a fan, you're a fan. It doesn't matter. Like, if you just like the Gamera movies, it's all good. But
That,
I,
I appreciate that. That is true. Yeah,
yeah,
but I've seen the Godzillas. I've seen the Gameras. Trying to get into Ultraman. Not as big a fan as that as I feel like I should be.
that's totally okay. Just the mantra here at Kaiju United is just love what you enjoy and just be positive about that. And so we're here to talk about Realm of Goryo because I enjoy Realm of Goryo. I think it's pretty great. Um,
I appreciate that.
let's go back to the beginning a little bit. Because I was reading your site a little bit, and it was like you enjoyed like adventure stories and that kind of stuff, and you just wanted stuff. You wanted to write stuff that harkens back to that. Aside from kaiju media, like what are some of your influences in writing books like that?
Some of my other influences are like more movie based, with like a lot of older Steven Spielberg type of stuff, like Jaws, Indiana Jones, even like obviously George Lucas here with Star Wars, kind of the classic Star Wars, where it really you want this giant world that you can just kind of get engrossed in. It's action adventure, fast pace, and good guys, bad guys. Like I feel like we've lost some of that heart that we used to have back in the day.
Would you say it's a lot more like pulpy adventure, kind of like George Lucas used to watch? Like, I mean, Indiana Jones is based on those Charlton Heston movies from the '50s with the big brimmed hat and stuff, and they climb trains and do all sorts of crazy stuff.
I definitely yes, I definitely would say very, very pulpy if it can. Make it a little bombastic, make it kind of ridiculous a little bit. Where like I follow the rule of cool. It's not realistic, but with it cool, okay, we'll let it go.
That's kind of, I mean, off topic here a little bit. That's kind of how I follow movies. I'm like, I'm just here to have fun. Like
Mm.
Godzilla versus Kong was fun, and that's all I cared about. I was like, yeah, this monkey's got an axe. That's
Yeah,
cool as shit.
going to the center of the earth. Like, all right, let's roll. I'm here on
Yeah,
the with you. Take me here. Like, try to keep it somewhat at least structurally within your own rules, but at the same time, go wherever you want to go.
totally. So what led to you be wanting to write for the medium of your choice? What made you want to be an author?
That's been a childhood dream. Like grade school, I always wanted to write books, comic books. I think originally, which I still want to do comic books. And as I got older, it would kind of switch over to movie writing. So I went to film school. So if you read my books, they're so fast paced. They read like a movie script because that's what I was schooled in. And after college, I started just kind of writing on my own, and it switched over to prose novel writing, essentially because I didn't need a crew for that. It could just be me, hire an artist to get the cover going, and we can get a project done.
That makes a lot of sense now because I mean, we talked about this privately before we started recording, but I am into book three of the Goryo series. And I was like, this feels like a movie. Like, is Dane planning something here? Like, what's going on?
Setting myself up for success. But yes, I write like I write like movie scripts, so that's how my books end up getting paced out and formulated. Where even some of my other horror, like Black Friday, and was originally I wrote a movie script for that, transcribed it over into prose, and I just released it as a book instead. So that one's even more of like a straight slasher horror genre book.
Um, Speaking of that, like we know you've done like Realm of Goryo. You have a couple other kaiju books out. You just dropped a slasher book. What other books do you think people should check out of yours?
Okay, so let's see. Definitely Black Friday. Check that one if you like horror. If you also like kaiju and horror, actually I have a couple of right here. This one is ready. Coming of Age Day. It's a slasher, giant monsters. It teams up. I partner with the Kaiju Assault guys, and yeah, so they have their own card game with their own monsters. And I took Stan, if you might recognize from the game, and gave him his own origin right there. So that's a fun one that came out last year, I believe. And then if you like cult fiction action adventure, we've got. I don't think I have a copy of that one. Lariat Roads and the Perils of the Fantasy Stars. That one's very kind of Doctor Who-ish, and I have so many good ones.
So all sorts of genres, though. That's awesome. I mean, I'm a movie guy myself, and I just tell people like I just enjoy movies. It doesn't matter what genre it is. I'll watch Godzilla. I'll go watch French New Wave. I'll watch giallo horror movies. It's just everything. So it's nice to. We can sit down and talk about different genres and stuff. Of course, it's Kaiju United, so we're here to mostly talk about Realm of Goryo, but it's really cool to have such a diverse bibliography there.
I try, yeah, like you. Like, it doesn't really. I obviously lean towards certain genres, but I can enjoy any good movie.
Absolutely. So, I was going to lean into the first book a little bit, the Four Pillars.
Yep.
Realm of Goryo. I know that there's like 4 main kaiju. I mean, the 4 pillars. I know there's a couple that get killed here and there, but I wanted to talk specifically first about Goryo because he's such a, I would say, realized character. Like we don't really know where he comes from yet because I'm still into the books, but I want to know where the design aspect of Goryo came from because if I recall correctly, he's the one with the tusk mouth kind of thing going on.
Yes,
like a gorilla.
Yes, he's kind of gorilla, hulkish with the tusk. The design actually came from a couple of my artist friends. If for the fans that have been with me since 2014, they'll realize that he's changed. His look is modified as new artists kind of pick up and add their own flair to it. So, like, let's see if I can't find a decent picture of him at all. I have nothing right now. But like, we have this like little coloring book here. Give me the light. So this is Christopher Roca Jr. He has more of like that manga kind of style going on. So he started drawing the big brute guy that I kind of wanted, kind of this hulking, just humanoid type figure. And he added big teeth. And then another friend of mine, Christopher Haller, when he drew it, he turned the teeth into these more of a tusk thing. And so the tusks started really defining themselves even more and more. And that's kind of how the ball got rolling. And then another artist, Travis, I came in like, I need even more bulk on him, more fur, give me more of that tusk in there, just keep amplifying it. So it really has been a kind of a work in progress visually for Goryo, but we always knew he was like this black fury. Like he's just determination and anger and rage just wrapped up into this black furred monster that's just running around.
Pretty much, yeah. He's just kind of an angry dude. That's what I got from the books.
Not happy. And you should know that you haven't gone into the origin of Goryo quite yet, so you're okay with not knowing where he quite comes from.
Oh, good. I was like, oh man, I hopefully that's not like a spoiler or something. We'll drop in this.
Like his existence right now is just he's here, and like from book one, the 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 enemy Tolinar, he calls him the usurper because he's obviously not supposed to really be within this world. Essentially, he's not a part of the natural order of things.
I really like that. And then, oh, I forgot his name. The guy you just said called him an usurper.
Tolinar, yeah, the leader, the Doyar of the amphibians of the Kadada.
Yeah, and I really especially enjoyed how there were a few elements taken from kaiju stuff. Like, you gotta have Robo Goryo. Come on, like.
Yeah. I think those are genre, correct.
You know, if you're gonna do a kaiju story, you gotta have your Robo archetype, doppelganger, we'll call it. I really enjoyed the not quite Mothra vibes in. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad with names. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
But yeah, like, and just it being a giant, it was like a swan, right?
Yes, a crane.
Okay. Crane, that's right. It was a giant crane. The thing I found most interesting, though, despite all of these cool, unique, I will say, kaiju, because like a lot of the time it's a bipedal Tyrannosaurus Rex with spines on his back, and it's not, you know.
I've tried to avoid doing that. It's a pet peeve of mine to see new kaiju get created, and they're always the bipedal T-Rex type of things with spikes on their back.
I mean, personally, for me, I see a lot of original kaiju that are just big red dinosaurs, and I'm like, why are they all red?
You'll love Lord Tatsumi then.
Right? He's big and red. But that was the other one. Tatsumi's intro was just phenomenal. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, of course the Mu have their own kaiju, but like this guy kind of operates on his own, which is kind of cool. I like it.
I love Lord Tatsumi. He's gone very faceted over the books, as you know, as with his history, he was the protector of the world at one point, but then mankind came around, balance of power started changing, and all of a sudden he finds himself weaker, and now he still wants that, he still has that drive to protect, but he needs to protect his people and not other people, and so it becomes a whose side are you on type of thing.
Yeah, because he's not really, well, I mean, he's doing terrible things like killing people and stuff, but like he's also kind of being the good guy for his own people, so it's like, Is he really a bad guy?
That, yes. So many shades of gray.
We did talk off the record a little bit. I was going to ask, what are some of the other kaiju that appear later on that you like? Because I'm only on like book 3. Because you mentioned that you based the kaiju off of that cat right there.
Yeah. This is Charlie, everybody. Say hello. He's my little devil. But yes, book 3 is the debut of Reisha, a giant kind of cat with wings with electrifying powers. And Reisha, basically what you've read, book 1 and 2, all lead up into book 3 of Reisha descending down and the world kind of not being ready for it. And so Reisha will learn an extraterrestrial kaiju from another planet, has gone mad over the millennia, and now has returned to Earth, has been on Earth before, and is part of the kind of the destruction of the ancient world. And so now, obviously, I don't want to leave too many spoilers. There's a big death in number 2, but now the world needs to kind of deal with Reisha without the powers that were around back in the day.
I love it. I know you're a Godzilla fan, and like obviously the crane kaiju is a little Mothra-y. Were there any other kaiju that were kind of not like a little bit of a spin? I don't want to say like directly inspired, because that's just, I don't like saying that.
You're on the right track though. So this actually goes back to the origin of Realm of Goryo. Obviously, I was writing books. I wanted to write Godzilla. You know, why not? Like IDW is writing Godzilla comic books. Like, how do I get in there? Well, obviously they're not going to give me the rights to write Godzilla quite yet. So I decided to write my own kaiju. And at one point I had written a spec script for a Godzilla comic book. Obviously didn't go anywhere, but I still had this script, and what that became was the beginnings of Realm of Goryo. So, as you were saying, not quite a direct translation, but inspired by the placements of power. So, like, Godzilla kind of became the Goryo type character. Mothra kind of morphed into this Tenji, peaceful, I'm here to help everybody. And, like, Lord Tatsumi actually came from Megalon. So, you have, like, the Kadata, the Seatopians, people in the sea at the bottom of the ocean, right there. And so, like, obviously, you have Robo Goryo, which is a fabulous staple. And I'm trying to think what else there was at this point. Weranon would have been a placeholder for, I think, maybe like Titanosaurus or so. That one's kind of a bit more vague. And then Babel 4 would have been Mogera in the original Godzilla spec script that I had written.
I got it wrong. I got it totally wrong. That is awesome.
I'm so curious now.
Goryo felt like a Kong to me. He was a brutish kind of silverback gorilla kind of guy.
It's kind of a combination of Kong and Godzilla. I wanted to take those kind of familiar characteristics that you see from popular Kaiju and bring them in there. So even in the origin, you see a little bit of Kong influence as well. So you're not completely wrong there.
And then at Tatsumi, I was like, it's Godzilla. He's coming out of the water. He's a force of destruction. That's super cool that it was Megalon, of course. The Seatopians.
It would have been Megalon would have been a keynote kaiju.
I'm here for the Megalon representation, though. That is fantastic. I was like, oh yeah, it's Kong with Gamera's teeth, Mecha Godzilla, Mothra, and Godzilla. And I'm like, that is so cool that I was wrong. I'm so happy.
Love it.
Oh man. I'm just stuck on that. I was like, holy cow, it's not Kong. But in terms of like the series, I mean, you're on like book 6, I recall. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. There are 6 books in the official series, and then this year I wrote a choose your own adventure type book for Realm of Goryo.
How far are you going with the main series? Like, can you reveal that at all, or is it just until I get tired of it?
It's kind of until I get tired of it. I didn't want to get myself stuck with a certain number of books because this series has evolved so much. I have an outline that kind of tells me where I'm going, that there's still so many stories and a number of monsters I want to bring in and reveal. But as we've gotten to like book 4 or so, things starts going a little crazy. Some new developments start happening. The characters and the monsters have kind of taken on a life of their own. So at that point, I'm really glad I haven't said, oh, this is going to be 10 books or this will be 6 books or something like that, because there's so much more to go. So like a comic book, it's ongoing. It's ever evolving. At this point, we'll get to the end. Maybe we'll get to the end. Maybe another idea will pop up and we'll just keep going. I don't know yet. It really depends on the fans, really. If more people start taking to it, buying the books, the more people that are buying books, the faster I can get them out, essentially.
There you go. I know you just did your Choose Your Own Adventure book that I think just came out like super recently.
Yeah, June.
What kind of? I'm just surprised that you went from like prose over here to Choose Your Own Adventure, because I don't think I've seen a Choose Your Own Adventure book get like a lot of, I don't know what the right word here is, but just like published in general. Like that was a 90s and 2000s thing, I think, for me. Because like I remember
they have fallen out of fashion a little bit. But it was just a bit of inspiration. I think some YouTube video did a look back. It might have been Galaxy Toys did like a look back at the Choose Your Own Adventure line. And I was watching this going, you know what? That'd be really cool to make a giant monster like escape the city while a giant monster is attacking. And I just finished book 6, which is kind of the end of season 2 for Realm of Goryo. And I just kind of like, let's take a little break here real fast. Let's look at some other projects. And this one was just something that I was inspired to do.
That's
So hopefully we
great.
can bring it back.
And this is a personal question. What are the biggest differences in writing prose versus writing a choose your own adventure where the pages are out of order? Like, how do you? I don't want you to give away the magician's tricks, but like, how do you write something like that that's out of order?
Actually, it was a little tricky, but not too bad. Where I took a maze and I used I used a maze as my key essentially. So I started with the story, and then I would write like in this chapter, you're in your apartment, and then on the maze, when you get to a turn, that's when I would decide, okay, so this is either A, you stay, or B, you leave. And then I would write the next chapter, and then gonna write that chapter, and it would just go from there. So it was very much a labor of love, but it somehow all made sense in my head.
I'm sure it did. It's just something I haven't quite figured out yet. It's like, because I remember the Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventure books of all things. And it was like, if you choose this, go to page 55. And I've always been like, why did they pick page 55? Of all things.
that part's just more random. So once I had like the outline, kind of the plot lines kind of mapped out, I took those chapters and then just started flying them around, and they ended up where they ended up at one point.
That's fascinating. It does just, I don't know, it's something that really just interests me personally.
Yeah, no, it was a fun. I was so excited to do it and put it together and make it all work.
Do you plan on doing more of them, or are you just kind of gauging how this one is receptive to the Realm of Goryo supporters?
I want to gauge how this one does because it's not in continuity exactly. So like if you go through the book, you'll see certain corners and facets of the Realm of Goryo that you would recognize from the main series. But like what actually ends up happening, like Calandra, you won't see Calandra in the main series quite yet, or if at all. And like what happens, like the city getting destroyed, it isn't really reflected in the series. So I don't know if I'm going to do, or I don't quite know what I'm going to do, guys. I do have some other ideas. I would love to make one where they're in space.
Of course. Jason goes to space, Leprechaun goes to space, Goryo goes to space.
Exactly, yeah. Like in season 2, you'll get there eventually. They go up to Hylon to see the Man Lins, the one of the alien species in the books, and there's obviously giant monster, kaiju, chaos going on up on the space station. It's probably one of my favorite scenes that I've written.
That sounds great. One of my favorite scenes early on in the books was the two things real quick. The idea of like skydivers that are thrill seeking to go look at a monster as they parachute in. What an idea. I was like, why hasn't anyone done that? Like, the closest we got was like the Halo jump in Godzilla 14.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, like they're
quite there.
Yeah, people are trying to get to Tokyo, so we're just gonna have to jump in and see you later. Good luck in there.
And I think that's something that kind of attached me to Goryo a little bit more, because I've read a lot of these books, and I think that and the fact that they did a peace treaty, like you took the idea of communicating with this divine creature represented by the Mothra twins in name.
Right, yeah, the Yarikura.
Yeah. But you took it further and had like the negotiation of this treaty where you can't attack these kaiju without them hitting you first, which is like, now you got like government bodies involved and all that crazy stuff. And I just thought that was a truly original idea, quite frankly. Like, I was really excited about that.
Yeah, thank you. It was what really helped build the world for me. It were, again, being the fans of the Godzilla movies, especially the Showa era, with like the pulpy kind of adventures that you could have. There was so much great material in there, but I felt like they never really capitalized on, well, what would you do with that world then? And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to take in this world where you have these giant monsters, you have this being that can speak to the giant monsters and speak to humans. Well, okay, so clearly someone's going to try to take advantage of that. Like you have alien species that are aligning with other humans, and you have other alien species. You have time travel, but how does that build and bounce upon one another? That's what I'm trying to do in Realm of Goryo. I'm trying to put it all together and have these people survive somehow.
That's so cool. I just think those two, especially when I started reading the series, I was like, that one and that one. And unfortunately, they are in the first book for people that haven't read it. I guess I like the first book the most so far. But again, my favorite Lord of the Rings movie is Fellowship of the Ring. My favorite Indiana Jones movie is Raiders. I tend to like the first installments.
First installment, it's a lot of fun. But personally, I like, book 4 is one of my favorites. I also like book 6 because we're kind of getting to where I've always wanted this world to be now. So we got like cyborgs, you got the aliens, you got so much stuff going on. You got the amphibians. Everyone's got an alliance. It's kind of like Game of Thrones. There's all different kind of power groups going on. They're all vying for control.
I can't wait to see that or read it. I can't see it. I don't know why I said that. Cross your fingers, right? I do know I have a friend that works with those Kaiju Assault guys and draws some of their cards. He's a contributor for Kaiju United. His name's Nick Huber. He's a cool dude. He did show me some of the Goryo stuff that he was working on. So you've done Kaiju Assault. Are there any other that you can reveal plans for where you want to take Goryo in terms of like, I guess other media is the best word besides like the book series and whatnot?
I would love to take Goryo anywhere and everywhere. Sure. Video games, more books, podcasts, movies, TV show. Why not? Right now, my limited sources keep me to books, but you never know what's going to happen next. Obviously, we're in the card game. We work well with Brandon and them. Love working with those guys. So there's like 3 expansion packs of Goryo characters, and there's still so many more Goryo characters. There's so more to come too. So I'm happy to do anything and everything with these characters. If someone else wants to join in, like, let's talk.
I like it. Yeah, anything and everything. What advice do you have for people that want to do what Dane does and write books and publish books and get them into card games?
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Like writing your first book is probably the hardest. No, Charlie. Sorry about that, everybody. Writing the first book, I think, is the hardest because you're going to be your own worst critic. But keep pushing through and finish that first draft, because what I always tell myself is that fixing a bad first draft into a good draft is easier than writing a perfect first draft. So get that first draft done and then look at it again, rework it, keep reworking it, sleep on it if you have to, and just come back with fresher eyes and keep at it. I mean, that's the best bit of advice that I can give, is to not give up. I've hit so many hurdles, so many stop gaps, but I love writing and I won't stop writing. So as long as I can keep doing this, I will keep writing these things. I just hope that readers out there will follow along.
That's great. And will you be at G-Fest this year? I can't remember. I was reading the vendor tables to watch out for that. Okay.
I will be at G-Fest this year.
So go ahead.
I know what were you saying?
I was going to say, if you're listening to this, it'll be out before G-Fest. Not sure when, but we'll find out. But if you guys are at G-Fest, please go to Dane's table and go check out his books, because they're fun. It's a lot of good times.
Yeah, check them out. I'll have books 1 through 6. I'll have the new, we call them Make Your Escape books, A Realm of Goryo. Also, we have a coloring book as well. there's so much stuff going on, not to mention Coming of Age Day for more kaiju fun, and a couple of other of my horror titles as well. Zombies, slashers, we'll have it all.
That's great. So I usually use this as my closer, but we can keep going a little bit. But I did want to sneak it in real quick. I always ask people, because it is Kaiju United, specifically with Godzilla, what does Godzilla mean to you? Or what does Kaiju mean to you?
I think it represents my childhood in a way, because I grew up, I obviously had Godzilla, had that 1998 or 89 Godzilla figure that you buy at Toys R Us. It was what me and my dad would used to watch. And then I got older, I kind of fell out of it for a little bit. But then I remember in college when I started writing film, I looked back and I thought to myself, what did I love about movies? What did I enjoy back then that I've lost? And Godzilla is what started kind of going, oh yeah, these movies were awesome. And it helped me kind of find that inner kid in me that I've held on to ever since. Where, again, it can be ridiculous. The story can be, there's a giant monster running around, but it can be heartfelt. It can be sad. It can be scary. It can be everything. I think the kaiju genre is amped for that, and I absolutely love
it. Yeah, I completely agree. Like when I talked to Graham Skipper, who wrote Godzilla, the Official Guide to the King of the Monsters, he said basically the same thing, that Godzilla was the perfect representation of the malleability of art and stuff. As a film guy, I'm sure that's exactly what you were saying too. Like, Godzilla could be any kind of movie you want. Quite, I can say quite frankly a lot, but I mean, it is true, right?
Yeah, like he's been a allegory for nuclear war and fallout. He's been a kid's mascot. It ranges so much, and there's so much you can do with him now.
Do you want Goryo to be the same, or do you want to just keep him kind of in his own universe with the same tonality?
I think he could be the same. I think he can do whatever. Like, again, I don't want to stop the potential and possibilities that Realm of Goryo could hold. If somebody wants to do something super serious, why not? You want to do a weird kids show? All right. Like, look, I have like little mini chibi figures of them on my shirt here. They can be anything.
I love it. Can you get that shirt, or is it just a Dane exclusive?
I believe they are online still at one of my stores. If you head to my website, they should be able to shop there. This was on by Destiny. What's her name online now? Kaiju Jaime. She did this art.
Oh, I know that person.
Yes.
Man, it's a small world.
It really is. The kaiju genre world is very small. You start meeting everybody very quickly.
How's it been doing these tables and stuff, and just having that community interaction at G-Fest?
I love it. I love G-Fest, and every year it's getting even better. Like, more people start coming back. Like, oh yeah, I read book 1. Where's book 2? Where's book 3? Oh, where's the next one? And so it's been great interacting with them and talking to people, especially like you, where like, what did you like about the book? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong?
Yeah, and I mean, that's what this site for us is all about, is that community focus. So it's really awesome to hear that there are people that just come back and they're like, yes, I love it. And they just, I don't know, it's really cool to see. I mean, especially at G-Fest, I love that all these independent creators have started making their own stories. Like the website for us, we just got through all these comic book guys, and now we got authors talking to us. And it's just so wonderful to see this renaissance. I mean, Goryo was published in 2014, I believe, but even then, it's still going. Like, I think it's one of the few kaiju book series that is still ongoing. And that's a feat.
Yeah, like I said, like I love this series. I love the world that I've built so far, and sometimes I can write fast, sometimes it'll go a little bit slower, but they keep coming to me, and I just keep chugging them out. So hopefully, I'm not sure when the next book will be. I've got a couple of projects I'm trying to wrap up, but hopefully at some point I'll get back into Realm of Goryo for book 7, season 3.
Season 3. I like that you break them off into seasons. That's also really fun, and it kind of just chunks them off into arcs. I kind of.
Yeah. So once you finish Ribbon Mother, everything will kind of calm down for a little bit. They'll reset, and then book 4, Baptism, kind of takes place like a yearish later, and the world's reset. Everyone's in a new place, but something happens, and it starts cascading into a whole other problem of fiasco.
Can I just throw a spitball question at you?
Go for it.
Do you title your seasons for the books like Dragon Ball Z has like the Majin Buu arc and stuff?
I haven't yet, but that's not a bad idea. I'm trying to think what, like, the first one would, I don't know what I would name them. I'll have to think about that. Like, they're in themes though. So like the first one was kind of about the 4 pillars and how the world would react without the 4 pillars. And then the second season is more introducing the aliens and their civil war and their war that's going on, and how like technology is affecting the world. So season 3 is going to be more mystical and magical. So we'll be focused more in Mu a lot and kind of that aspect of the world.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, Dane, it has been a significant pleasure talking to you and discussing Realm of Goryo. I am so happy that we finally sat down and did this. I will be finishing book 3 this weekend because I'm off this weekend, which is awesome. But I just wanted to give you the floor. I mean, we've kind of already discussed like what you're kind of working on and whatnot, but anything you kind of want to say, promote, say what's up, what's going on in Dane's world, the floor is yours.
So yeah, why not? I have one other project that's coming up that we're slowly working on. You were talking about comic books earlier, so I'm working with the Kaiju Assault guys still. We're working on a comic book for one of their characters, Digitaru Senshi. Let's see. Like, here's one of the finished pages so far from my friend Christopher Roca Jr. He's doing phenomenal work, so hopefully sometime later this year we'll have an issue out and we'll see where it goes from there. Hopefully people are kind of keeping an eye on it.
Awesome. All right, Dane. Well, thank you again for jumping on and talking. For those of you that are late to the party and are watching the end of this video for some reason, Dane is an author. He writes Realm of Goryo, so many other books. If you like pulpy adventure, if you like slasher movies, if you just like retro movies in general, I think you'd really like Dane's work. So again, thank you, Dane.
Thank you. Hey, thanks again, Jacob. Great to talking to you.
Sweet.